President Obama's healthcare reform law has experienced a well-publicized series of failures, and the website at healthcare.gov has been riddled with problems. More important than that issue are cancellations of insurance policies of millions of people nationwide. Customers who had policies with less coverage than the new minimums was avoided by insurers. Just a day after news broke that 1 million people lost health insurance in California, an aide to the president announced a change in policy. In exchange for allowing what the plan terms substandard policies, insurance companies would be given two mandates. First, they must inform their customers that the policy is below the new minimum possible coverage, and second, they must provide an accounting of the benefits missed by not upgrading. The battle over Obamacare is raging around the country. The president is standing firm in his support of the program as a whole, even as popularity of the program fades among the general public. It is also costing him in the form of declining poll numbers. Dr. Mayer Eisenstein is the director of Home First Health Services. He's a graduate of the Illinois Medical School and John Marshall Law School, and he spent 4 decades in medicine treating over 75,000 patients. Having trained in both medicine and law, he offers a unique perspective into the president's healthcare reforms. The doctor is our guest on the show today, and he's here to talk to us about changes in the healthcare laws. And we're going to be discussing motives behind Obamacare and its well-publicized problems, in addition to some possible solutions. Welcome back to the program, Doctor.
Oh, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be back with you.
Doctor, what were the original motives behind the Obamacare health law?
Well, it's very difficult to know motives, but if you look at the people in government right now, they have a belief system that government knows better than you do, and that's their essential belief system, that they wanted to take over health care, but they're not taking over health care. They're taking over health insurance. I'm offended by the word Affordable Care Act, because that word care doesn't belong. It should be Affordable Insurance Act. I could live with that. I'm offended by the word Obamacare, because Obama is he's the president. He's an attorney. He's not a physician. He's not an MD. He's not a chiropractor. He's not a nurse. He doesn't provide care to people who have healthcare needs. And they're trying to confuse words. Liberals very typically use words to confuse. Better for the people, the best interest of the public. And I think that's the problem here. There was never a healthcare crisis to start with. There may have been a monetary crisis, but that doesn't rise to the level of a healthcare crisis.
What do you say to people who believe that there's a problem with the healthcare system today in the form of insurance, where insurance companies are denying people based on pre-existing conditions and some of those other issues?
Well, let me tell you something. They're right. There may be some issues financially, but look, I delivered babies at home for almost 40 years. And with my multiple partners, we delivered over 20,000 babies at home. Not one woman had her baby at home because she didn't have health insurance. In this country, almost no one has their baby at home. Everyone goes to the hospital and has a baby. So obviously there's no crisis in childbirth. Everyone who gets cancer gets the same radiation, chemotherapy, cut it out. No one's denied some of the care, which I have questioned if it should be given in the first place. So there may be a question of how you pay for it, but don't confuse the public by talking about things like health care crisis. There may be a crisis how you pay for it.
So basically, you believe that the issue really resides in the payment for the services.
Exactly, 100%. The liberal mentality is get as many people onto a government program so they'll be beholden to you, be it food stamps, be it Medicaid, anything that gets the public to vote for you.
Is Obamacare a program that will basically make people dependent on government?
100%. The ultimate goal is, it became very clear the last couple of days that the architects of the Affordable Care Act knew that because of the restrictions put in, which, by the way, were completely illegal because these restrictions were put in after the fact, and to the best of my knowledge, I did go to law school. I did read the Constitution. I did study the Constitution. President doesn't have a right to change laws that Congress passed. President's job is to enforce the laws that Congress passed.
So what President Obama did in his administration by initiating these 2 changes to that law, he violated the law itself.
There's not even a question in my mind. Starting back when he decided
what would have been the proper way to do that? Would initiate a new law and a whole new voting process, put it back on his desk and sign it?
That's exactly right. It has to go to Congress, has to be passed in Congress, and go back, or an amendment to the law. That's absolutely doable.
So why did he go about it this way? If he was violating the law, why did he go about it this way?
Well, the question is, why hasn't anyone called him on it? You know, some of the top law professors around the country have said he should be called on that. And the way you call someone on that is you ask for an impeachment. You know, impeachment means when a president, impeachment of the president is not performing his duty, or when he exercises privileges which are way beyond his scope of duty or scope within the constitutional law.
So by administering the law in that fashion, by initiating these 2 changes, you believe that he was not acting within the scope of his mandate as president?
Absolutely. I mean, he was passing new laws. You know, a few months ago when he decided that businesses didn't have to had a year more to implement the Affordable Care Act, that was also unconstitutional. President can't do that. He had to go back to the Congress, and Congress had to pass it. Why didn't he do it? He doesn't have a majority in the Congress. He has a majority in the Senate, but it wouldn't have gotten out of Congress to be able to pass that. And remember when he passed this midnight, you know, without anybody around, you know, it was done, you know, when he had a control of both the House and the Senate.
Now, what went wrong with the program? Why is there so many issues arising now when we see it's starting to be implemented?
Well, you know, it's funny that let's start with the website. I called a few of my programmer friends and asked them how much would it cost to build a database with the information needed to administer this, which would be able to encompass 300 million people. And they estimated between $30 and $50 million. So far, they spent $1.2 billion. But even more, where did they send it to? Canada. The majority of the programmers are out of Canada. I mean, we have in America the greatest programmers in the world. I would have gone to the people from Google. I would have gone to the people from eBay, organizations which handle multi-million people on their websites all the time. But no, he had to go somewhere else to his cronies, his friends in Canada. And also, it wasn't bidded. And also, the contract that was given, and we're just talking about the website. We're not talking about the program itself. We're just talking about how to get into the program itself. It also, the programmers and the organizations which did it had no penalty involved, which means they had no incentive to do anything good. They're going to get paid another $200 million to fix this. The top programs I've talked to feel it can't be fixed. It's like trying to rewrite a program that has so many flaws in it, so much problems. But that's not the Affordable Care Act. That's just accessing it. This has nothing to do with the actual implementation. But it's kind of like some of the commentators have said, if they failed on this low level of implementation, what are we in for? And as you said earlier, 1 million people have lost their insurance, you know, and to use words like substandard. Is it substandard insurance for a 60-year-old woman to not have maternity care? Is that substandard? Is it substandard for a 55-year-old man to not have a care for newborn children? You know, I mean,
are these actual mandates that every American have in their insurance policy?
Absolutely, yes. The pregnancy one may be the most easy, understandable. How it's absurd that you have to pay for maternity coverage if you're as a woman if you're past bearing children.
Well, why would they go ahead and create that? It does seem paradoxical.
Absurd. You know, well, I can't get into their heads. You know, you need.
Do they believe that one size fits all? Then is this a government one size fits all solution to the proposed problem?
Political correctness. I mean, it's a very strong tool of left-wing people because their goal is for government to take over everything. I'll give you a few examples. They don't like using the word abortion, so they use post-conception planning. And they don't like use the word weed, so they call it marijuana or grass because it's got a better sound to it. It's more of it's two different camps of thought. Can we as individuals take care of ourselves within our communities, within our church groups, within our friend group, or do we need the government to take care of us? And it's two very diametrically opposed philosophies. And I think that we've seen right now, which I hope the end of the socialism or the social creeping into government with the Affordable Care Act. It's kind of like the Bible says: if you want to teach someone to eat for one day, you give them a fish. If you want to teach them how to eat for the rest of their life, you teach them how to fish. This administration has no interest in teaching people how to fish. They want to give away in order to get votes. The part of the solution there is term limits.
Doctor, let's go back to the Obamacare topic. We can have you back on and talk about term limits and some of the other problems in government. But I want to get your take on how does Obamacare affect you as a medical professional?
The answer is I don't know. I mean, it's possible to really know because we'll know. Well, I can tell you, Blue Cross already sent me a letter, and Blue Cross represents about 75% of the insured in Illinois, as well as it'll be 75% of all people who sign up for the exchange. They have their own exchange set up, and they said that one of the regulations in Obamacare is you don't have to pay your first premium. You'll be insured January 1st, but you don't have to pay your first premium until January, February, March, April. Blue Cross has said they will pay the doctors in January. They will not pay you for February or March. And then if April, the people don't pay their premium, they will ask for a refund for what they paid you in January. We're talking about patients who are part of the exchange, the Blue Cross exchange. So essentially, doctors are going to be working for 3 months, get paid for 1 month, and if a percentage of those people decide not to stay on with this insurance for whatever reason or pay for it, you're going to have to refund the money. So essentially, you're clearly not going to get paid for at least 2 months. So 75% of your work in February and March will not be compensated until May or June.
Back to the insurance cancellations, could the government or insurance providers be held legally responsible for them?
Well, that was the law, and I think the insurance companies honed up to their responsibility. And I'm not saying they're the good guys or the bad guys. As you said in your opening, they were under the law obligated to let insureds know that the policy that you have is substandard, kind of pretty tough. I mean, to send that language out, and then they no longer can afford it. So they did their part. You can't force someone to sell something that they're going to lose money on. I mean, that's not the American capitalistic system. And so they decided certain of the products, the insurance products they were selling, they would no longer offer. And that's the 5 or 6 million people right now that have lost their insurance. Didn't see a lot of people complaining about those policies. That wasn't the complaints that we heard. In fact, I don't remember hearing any complaints. This was a fabricated crisis in order to capture a larger base for a ideological based politicians.
Doctor, we got to go up to break right now, and when we come back, I want to discuss how Obamacare will change the number of people who are able to access health care. But we do need to take this break. Stay tuned for more with Dr. Mayer Eisenstein right here on WHDT World News.